sung goodbye for us. You have to say it, baby. And us in Texaco's. You wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 now.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and inspect the clutch. In my previous video, we went ahead and pulled this out. There's your main top cover. Look for any obvious signs of wear. I don't see any. This all looks good. Take your first friction out. Turn this upright like that so you can set your frictions on it the way they come out. See, each groove should be able to fill a lip, front and back. These still have some life in them. They're not toasted. The friction, look, I mean, there's gonna be some obvious wear, like discoloration right here, but that's fine. It's got, if you can see it on camera, there's like little bitty stamping marks. You want to be able to see those because that's for the frictions to grab onto. You don't want to see any bluing from like heat or anything like that. And that's what you look for, going all the way down the clutch. You know, just friction, steel, friction, steel. Same thing with your little pin here. You want to move the oil and stuff around it. Make sure it's not discolored from heat. It'll be kind of a bluish black color if it is. Sometimes slightly purple. And that's what you look for on your clutch. These, if they're burned all the way out, you will no longer see any groove, let alone feel any. Like right here where my thumb is at. You should be able to see the difference on camera. If you can't feel a groove there, your frictions are wore out. Alright, in the last video, we talked about this gear going to be extremely hard to get off. We'll get to that a little later. For right now, we will go ahead and you can go ahead and take the oil pump out right now if you want, but I'm going to leave it till later. We're going to switch over to the worm gear on clutch side. So, with worm gear, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then you have 4 nut or bolts on the back. 2 go into this side of the case, and then 2 go into this cover. So you only, for the moment, you only need to remove these 2, but you can go ahead and take them all out if you want. Again, take your pick. Make sure ain't none of these packed with dirt.
You wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. You love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave.
There is not a gasket per se behind this worm drive cover. Yamaha uses Yamabond, the same stuff they use to seal the 2 halves of the case. Do not go to your local hardware store and buy RTV. Sure, it might seal up and kind of looks the same as Yama Bond or Yama Lube or not Yama Lube, but Honda Bond. You know, each manufacturer has their own specific brand. They're technically all the same. But if you use RTV from like O'Reilly's or somewhere like that, it may work for short term, but eventually all the vibration from the engine running and everything, you are going to get leaks in between the case. Mrs. Ryzen, her four-wheeler I completely rebuilt, went through all this process. New seals, new bearings. Hers, somebody had been in before and put it back together with RTV. It was leaking on the bottom of the case, in between the two halves, right at the bottom, all the way across the bottom. Alright. These bolts are 12 millimeter, by the way. There's also shims in this. So you want to keep them in order and keep track of how many there are. If I remember correctly, they're not full shims, they're half shims. You know, half the diameter on this side, half the diameter on this side. And there's an O-ring in here, that's what keeps it sealed. Take your hammer, give a little rap there, a little rap on the top, a little rap on the bottom. Should start to get a little bit of a wiggle. And there's what I was talking about by trying to make another mess. Alright. Here's your cover. Remember those shims we talked about? Looks like this one only has one on each side, which is a little odd. That's for, I believe they use it for measuring in play. Alright, you should be able to grab this now. Pull the whole thing, bearings and all. And here's your worm drive. Got a bearing on the top. To get this out, you'll have to use a ball joint press or a normal press. Press this out, undo this nut, and then everything comes off. There's also a seal back here. O-ring we talked about from sealing the whole unit. Next, we're going to go to stator side. But before we do, in here, you have a gear if you can see it. Kinda on camera. It's got a ridge around the gear. You can go ahead and take it off without painting that over. It'll straighten itself out when you go to put it back on for your rebuild. Just make sure you take something, kind of squish that back down to lock it down. Moving on, if you haven't already removed your shift linkage, now's the time to do so. This one is loose, not by me. Should be the same Torx bit you've been using. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to remove this cover. This screw's already loose. We're gonna get a little more room for that Allen key to go in.
I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 you know.
Here's your plastic cover.
If you love me now, 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 you know. Gotta leave. You wave it on it. You wave it on it. You wave it on it.
Alright. Now they don't always just pull off the shaft. There is a notch in it for you to kind of put a little pressure in it and split it a little so you can get it off the splines. Screwdriver usually helps. Shifter lever. From there, let's go ahead and remove the speedo drive. It is 3 Allens again. See if y'all can see the speedo gear. We're gonna remove the speedo gear.
So goodbye for us. You have to say it, baby. And us in Texas, you wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 you know. I gotta leave you, love me now, 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 you know. Gotta leave.
Take your last screw out. And there's your worm or your speedo drive. It does have a gasket on it. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove this sensor and this one right here. This one is your reverse sensor. This one is your neutral sensor. They are both 9/16. Start with the top one. Should have a little copper washer under it, sort of like brake lines. See? Go ahead and remove the lower one. Same thing, and I'm getting wool everywhere now. Making another bloody mess. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove this top nut. Same size. There should be a spring, a washer, and there should be a check ball. You can see that hole. If you have a magnet on hand, you can fish it out of there. You should be able to also fish it out with a pick. Right, here we are, a little check ball. That is for your low-high selector to lock in place. This rides on the cam. We're going to go ahead and remove the pull start. You take a cord with a pull handle, you wrap it around this direction and yank from this direction. It starts in case your battery's dead. I've never had to use it, but this nut is a 17 millimeter. There's a bolt, lock washer, and a flat washer, a big flat washer. And you just pull out on it. There is a seal here. I've had several people ask before how you get the stator cover off. You have 3 Phillips on the bottom, you can see. You have one at the very top and one in front of the starter, you can see. Then you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 inside behind the pull start that you cannot see unless you have the engine tipped up. So let's go ahead and start with the ones in the deep holes. Appears to be all of them. There's not very many places to really hit from on this one. Can take something in right here, kind of wedge. There's a little spot right here. You might be able to get a couple taps on. Alright, looks like it's coming forward. You can tap from right here. Do a little wiggling. This will fight you a little bit because the flywheel and the stator, the magnetism to them. All right. This is your stator cover. Remember, we left a couple screws right here. There's a screw hole here, 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 and here. You have a seal here. This does have a gasket behind it. This is the stator. I had already tested this stator. If you buy the manual or anything, it'll give you the instructions on how to test it, to ohm it out. This one doesn't read at all. So this stator is more than likely junk, or it's because of these frayed connections right here. You can go ahead and should be able to just pull this little shaft here out, reach in behind the starter, grab the gear, try to pull it out as one unit. If memory serves me correct, there is supposed to be a dowel pin, or not dowel pin, but a shim. A washer, you know, little copper washer. Unless it has fell down into the case and I didn't catch it, which I don't see it. Somebody has been in this clutch cover before, or stator cover, and they have one. Here's one of the dowel pins, the magnet cot. That went right here. Got one on the bottom. You know, if they come out, you can just go ahead and take them out, put them up, keep them safe. But yeah, usually anywhere that a shaft meets case and something rides on it, like this or some other things we've done, there should be a washer. The fact that that one is missing means somebody was more than likely in here. Alright, next part might be a little controversial. I said everybody does it a little different. I take 3 old head bolts, and a harmonic balance puller, or harmonic puller, again, whoever wants, what everybody wants to call it. You have 3 bolts. They are the exact same as the head bolts, same size, same pitch. They have to fight with the magnetism on the flywheel to get these in place. Now snug everything up. Depending on how long your bolts are, you may have to put the crank bolt back in and set a socket on it for you to have the room and everything to reach. And it also helps that you don't potentially damage the end of the crank. $12mm should be your head bolt size. Just snug them up. Give her a couple taps. Make a hammer. Give her a couple taps. So pop just then. And I sent the socket flying. That usually always happens. I want another one. There went all three. Alright. Flywheel. This on the back is pretty much like your one-way gear, sun gear, sun ring gear, whatever. These little rollers that come out. You can see in here there's a pin on a spring. These are really simple to get back in place. Okay, what I was talking about. See that pin down in there? There's one there, one on this slide, one on this side. You want to take you a pick and push this pin down in its little groove. It's spring loaded, but have this ready. This is your roller. So set the roller right here next to the hole. Take you a pick and push in on that and slide your roller in. And slide your pick out. Just like that. You can do it for all three. There should be a pin and a spring for here, here, and here. That gives you all three of them. Real simple to put back together. The next thing, we have this gear here. You should be able to reach in and grab it. Slide it up. Or, my bad. You got to remove this. It's the half moon key, like a flywheel key, shim key. After you remove that, you can pull this up and it comes right off. I am seeing some discoloration right there where this rides from heat. It may be factory. The bushing inside still has its oil grooves. It looks okay to me, so probably still usable. Here's your flywheel. This side sits down on those rollers. that we just put back in place. You may have to turn it. You notice it allows you to turn it one way but not the other. That's what I mean by one-way gear. Starter clutch, everybody calls it something a little different. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and get our timing chain out the rest of the way, and we're going to go ahead and pull our timing chain guide out. The guide is first. There's 2 bolts. They're both 10 millimeter. So let's go ahead and get these out. And now your guide should be able to slip out of the case. Same thing with your chain. Now you should be able to reach in here, kind of pick up on it, pull it through a little. Sometimes might get a little hung. You may have to pull it all the way through the case and turn it back flat. Try to turn it back flat. There you go. And there's timing chain out.